Good morning. That's a lovely Traci with me. Hi, Traci. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hiya, thank you for having me. Well, my name's Traci and I go under the pen name of T.A. Rosewood, just because I think my name's too boring. So just wanted to go with something else. So I'm an author of so far 5 novels, 2 novellas, and I think it's 7 children's books now. And I've just finished my next novel, and that's in the editing stage now. So I've just got to decide when I'm going to launch that one, because it wasn't an intended book to write this year. I'm a mum, I'm a wife, live in good old Essex, sunny Essex, but the very north Essex. We like to call it South Cambridge. But yeah, so that's me.
When did you decide, okay, today's the day I'm going to sit down and I'm going to finally write the book that I've always wanted to?
What, my original book, my first one?
Yeah, or whenever, just when you first thought, that's it, I'm going to do it.
Well, yeah, I'd always written as a child. I actually failed my English exams because I wrote too much. It was supposed to be a 2-page story and I wrote 30 pages. So yeah, I was failed on that. So it's always been in me to write. And it's sort of, life takes over, being a mum, having a business. But then in 2016, Jojo Moyes, quite a well-known author, she opened the bookshop in the town that we now live in. So we went along and I was listening to her talking about her book, Me Before You, which a lot of you will know. And the fact that it got made into a movie, and I was just completely inspired to pick up my pen, if you like, tap away at the keyboard, and just that's when it all started up again, which was, so then my first novel launched in 2020, the first lockdown weekend, actually. And since then, I just haven't been able to stop. I love, the way that book come across to everybody, and the way it reached hearts, made people laugh, cry, messaging me, and that was it, really. So I've just carried on, released a novel every year since.
Did you ever tell Jojo Moyes the effect that she had on you?
Yes, I did. We went back because she was back in the shop to talk about her newest book. So we went along again, and I wasn't going to say anything. My husband decided to put his hand up, and so she said, "Yes, how can I help you?" And he said, "We come here tonight because we just really wanted to thank you after the last time that we come here. My wife decided to start writing again, so we wanted to thank you for the inspiration." And she started applauding, and then the whole room started applauding, and I was like burning. So yeah, she knows, and I've actually signed the book that I wrote to her, and I'm hoping that one day I'll bump into her again.
Oh, that's lovely. Yeah, that's really sweet. Yeah, good old husband and wife.
Yeah.
And so, what came first for you, the children's books or the adult ones?
Well, I mean, the novels I started writing first, and they're all quite emotional, deep subjects that I write about. And I'd actually written like just a story, a children's storybook, about 10 years previous, that was printed out, and it had like about 2 images, you know how it was back then. And I just happened to dig it out, and I thought, well, actually, this might make a good little, you know, break from the serious stuff. So I went on Canva, started designing it, rewriting it a little bit, and I just launched it, and it just went down really well. And it was just a nice break, really, from writing such serious subjects. And then, yes, I just went on from there with those, really, and launched, I think it was 5 in October last year, every weekend. So I worked on one during the week and then launched that one at the weekend, and then went on to another one. And I thought, well, I need to stop now and get on with the other serious ones. So, yeah.
You said you write about serious topics. So how do you choose? Is it just something that you've already got in your mind that you want to think, oh, I'll write about this now, or has something happened that then you think, oh, it seems like the right time to write this story?
Yeah, so the first one that I wrote about, as I said, I come away from that evening just inspired, and it just come in. I don't know where it come from, and I just come up with this storyline, and it just kept flowing. And it was about breast cancer. And that book took me 4 years to write, because 3 months after I started it, my mum got diagnosed with breast cancer. So it was just stopped because it was just too close to home. And I was helping her, going to appointments, having her treatment, trying to deal with it as a family. And then she turned around, she said to me, how's the book going? And I said, well, it's not, because I just can't do it. And she said, well, in no choice of words, get on with it, and use our experiences in the hospital, all the leaflets. She kept everything for me, and she said, use it and get on with it. So that's what I did. So yeah, and then the one I've just written, I wasn't intending on writing one till the end of the year, but I had a really nasty review on one of my books. It wasn't just about the book, it was more like digging personally at me as a writer. And after I'd cried and got angry and slammed the keyboard down and told my family, that's it, I'm not writing anymore. I can't deal with this sort of abuse, if you like, bullying. I decided that actually there's a book in there. So I've now written a novel based on that sort of storyline of an author getting a bad review, and that reviewer keeps on leaving bad reviews everywhere and stalking her. So now that's now a novel. So I'm sort of thanking that reviewer.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah. You got to use life and what happens in life, I think. So I do try and bring real life into the books, and stuff that I've been through, or people I know have been through stuff, because I feel like that's what I relate to in books. And so that's what I like to write about.
I think of it like a switch that's been flipped. When you become an author, there's a switch, and then suddenly everything could be a story, or things that you would have not looked at or paid attention to before. Now suddenly you're like, I could
Yeah, literally. You can't even walk down the street without thinking, oh, I could put that person in.
Yeah, it's awesome, but then you're just headed full of all this stuff, and it's like, oh god.
Yeah, I never stop writing in my head. It's but I've just got a T-shirt, and it's got do not annoy the writer. She may put you in a book and kill you.
But most people love that, don't they? Because I read crime fiction mostly. And if people want to be a character in a book, generally they want to be the killer or the bad person, which I
Yeah.
don't know what that says about us, but there we are.
Yeah.
When, because you said you'd always written, when you actually came to write properly, did you find it more difficult than you expected, or did you find it just like you always had, you just written?
It just seemed to flow, to be honest. I'm not a plotter at all. I've tried it, I really have, but it just I sit down, I've got my little room where I write, and I just sit down and I just go at the keyboard, and it just all just comes out, verbal vomiting, we call it. um, and then when it stops, that's when I stop. But yeah, it just sort of happens, which is nice, you know. And
Yeah,
obviously,
I imagine a lot.
it's usually about October that I start writing. But obviously, because of this review, something, as you say, something just pinged, and I thought I could get this, I could get this down. Whether it was, you know, making it into a book or not, I just needed to get it out of my system, if you like. So yeah, I'm quite excited to see how people take it.
I so hope that reviewer reads it. That would be awesome. Hopefully they'll be like,
Yeah, annoyed the wrong person,
yeah.
but yeah.
So it sounds like for you the story comes first, and then do the characters and setting come later?
Yeah, they just sort of it just sort of flows along. I've got like a character development journal which I use just to jot down, obviously, so I don't give them blue eyes in one chapter and brown in the other. But that's about as much planning as I do. But yeah, it just literally just flows when details come, when scenes come. I can be out, you know, for a walk, and all of a sudden I'll think of something that needs to go in, and I'll just jot it down on in my phone, and then put it in when I get home. But yeah, it just evolves, and they evolve, and new characters come in all of a sudden. I'm like, where did they come from? But yeah, so that's just literally how I do it.
It sounds like they're all standalone.
No, the first three books, although they can be read alone, they are part of a series. So they're the Lies series, um, but they can be read by themselves. But they do sort of interlink, which again wasn't planned. But the secondary character in my first book, people so fell in love with her, and they kept messaging me and saying, we need to know her story. So that's how that come about. So yeah, the first three are linked as a series, but you can read them by themselves, and then the other two are standalones, as is this new one at the minute.
Which of your characters have you had most fun writing, and which characters giving you the most difficulty?
Wow. Well, the first one has got to be who I enjoyed the most, because she just really resonates with everybody that's read it and loved it. There's a few that didn't like it, didn't, because they didn't agree with her lies, um, which again is a great review anyway, because it means that you know, it's touched them that way. So, but I think, yeah, she was my favorite character to write, and I really, because it took 4 years as well, I suppose I was really invested, and it's a very special book personally. The hardest one, probably the latest one, because it's getting that emotion over without being, you know, too much. So, but I've also enjoyed it immensely. You know, I'm really looking forward to getting it out there and seeing what people think. So,
And how do you go about choosing character names?
who shall I have today? That literally, obviously, like in this latest one, there's a couple of Italians who feature. So I would just Google, you know, Italian names for someone this age, blah blah blah, and just pick one out. But yeah, that again, it just sort of happens. And I'm like, who haven't I used? What name haven't I used? Yep, that'll do. And I have actually changed names as well. In my first book, as I was doing the read through, there was about 8 characters that had the name beginning with J. And I was like, this is not good. I need to check. They're going to think I've got an obsession with the names with J. So I had to go through and find new names. So that was quite funny. But yeah, they just pop out. Or if if it's somebody that I know, I'll just slightly change it if you know what I mean. So yeah.
When you're editing, what are the words or phrases that you most overuse?
I've just been watching a video on that actually, and I've typed in really, and I've used it 55 times. So I'm going to have to go through that. Yeah, nodding. She nodded is one. Uh, she breathed.
Oh,
She breathed a sigh. Yeah, I think every writer has certain ones, but there are those ones that everybody uses way too much. But the way I see it, I just have to write, get it out, and then when I do the edits, that's when I'll change words. Because if I'm trying to edit and write, if do you know what I mean? It's too much. You just need to get it out of your head, get it on the page, and then worry about words later. Worry about changing really to immensely, or whatever after. I think that's the way forward for me anyway.
is it words that picks up on really? One of the programs picks up on really, doesn't it? And usually
Yeah.
tells you to take it out.
Yeah, yeah. So I just watched a video from Dave Chesson from Kindlepreneur, and he's given, I think it's 10 words that are used most often. So I just typed in the first one, and I was like, oh, 55 times. That's not good. But yeah, that's all. It's all part of the editing process, which seems to take the most time.
Yeah,
It's
definitely.
hard. It's harder. Like writing the blurb is harder for me than writing the 100,000 word novel. It's ridiculous.
Oh, you're not alone, don't worry.
No.
So you're self-publishing. Why did you choose to go down that route? Oh, oh,
For the quickness, really. When I first started with the first book, I was approaching publishers, but obviously, you can't get into the big ones unless you've got an agent, and then you can't get an agent unless you've got at least 5 books out there and a following. So it's a bit of a vicious circle. So I went on done some training, self-published training, um, and just got on with it. And I thought, if it's good enough, then somebody one day might pick me up. Um, I got 5 offers, but they all wanted money up front, which is just, it just wasn't feasible for me. So I thought, well, I'll just carry on and live in hope that one day something might happen. But in the meantime, I've got complete control over my books, my book covers. So yeah, I'm just carrying on and until something happens. I've approached some agents at the beginning of this year, so I've started doing that again because I do feel as though now I could be ready to have an agent, but just they don't rush, do they? They get thousands every week, so yeah, I'm just going with it.
I saw something on Twitter yesterday that someone had their full manuscript requested, and it's been 9 months, and they chased the agent, and the agent said they're still considering it, I think. So that's 9 months. So I was like, oh my God, I would have given up by then, I think, and thought, nah, they're not interested. I don't think I'm that patient.
Yeah, and as well, it's like it's another cut of your money that we really don't earn very much, as it is. So it's like it's another cut of the money going elsewhere. You know, if you're lucky enough to sell thousands and thousands of copies, it's not such an issue. But if it doesn't happen, then that's even less money than you get. And this is not my full-time job, unfortunately, at the minute. It's just I do it because I love it. So
Yeah. I was going to say, I can see some of your covers behind you, and they look really good.
thank you.
If you're doing them yourself, then that's impressive because they do look really cool.
Yeah, the new one is I've got it pinned up, but I've moved it so nobody sees it because I've not revealed it yet. But I really like the new one. So and because it's a bit more of a thriller type. It's got quite a different look to the other ones. But yeah, we do them all ourselves. I come up with the idea of what I want. Um, the first about the first three, I think my husband had a little hand in it, but now that I've got Canva, I can sort of get on with it myself. And then he comes in and he'll say, "Well, that just needs a little bit of a tweak," and the back blurb, the dreaded blurb. That's what takes the most time for me of a cover. So yeah, but thank you. I do like them.
Yeah, they are cool. With so it sounds like you sort of branched off into a thriller, but is there any sort of other genre that you'd really be interested in trying out?
I don't think so because for me, I like to write what I enjoy to read. If that makes sense. Like I don't I don't enjoy fantasy, science fiction, horror. It's just not what I like to read, so it's not something I'd want to write about. And this one it is more of a thriller, but it has still got a strong female character who goes through a lot, and there's some romance in it as well, and some heartache. You always have to have heartache. You always have to try and I do like to try and make people cry. And I read a chapter the other night when I was editing, and I had a lump in my throat, and I had to stop for a minute. So for me to cry at my own book, that's something quite special.
Yeah, that's when you know that you've done a good job if you're crying.
Well, I hope so. I hope so.
Will you be attending any author events over the summer?
Um, well, yeah, I'd like to, but it's just finding them locally. Um, you know, I'd like to have my books exhibit at some, but it's the cost, like the self-publishing show. I really have wanted to go for years, but it's just the cost of it. Getting to London is another thing, isn't it? Before you've even got there. But yeah, we've actually talked about trying to arrange one locally for indie authors to showcase their books. But again, it's finding a venue, and when this is not your full-time job, you got to pay the bills, and trying to create an event and plan an event, it takes time, doesn't it? So, but yeah, I would love to attend some events. It's just whether they're local enough to get to.
Yeah, it's tough. I know, especially for indie authors, because they're not really included in the big things, are they? So I do.
No.
Yeah, I know. I organised one in Brighton, even though I live in Bedfordshire, and yeah, I work full time as well. And I think the cost possibly more is the most prohibitive rather than the time. Sort of, you can do the rest in the evening, but it is really expensive. But
Yeah.
alone, although they take a deposit and then they take the rest. So hopefully you sort of sell a few tickets, then you can pay. But if you don't, then it's really hard.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do get it. um, if you're able to spend a day with any author, dead or alive, who would you like to spend a day with?
Just one. Well, I think obviously because Jojo Moyes inspired me to begin writing novels, you know, to spend the day with her and would be awesome. Um, but again, E.L. James, she started self-publishing, and look at where she is. So she follows me on social media as well, and often replies to any comment that I make. So I think between the two, I don't know, E.L. James, because she is self-published, I think she would be just amazing to spend the day with, just chatting everything, you know, about her experience and her journey. I think that honestly would be amazing.
Yeah, I think one of my friends knew her before she was famous. I don't know if she was doing like fan fiction, and it's just because she worked in marketing that her books went massive. But yeah, it would be interesting to know how she done what she done because it was incredible.
Yeah.
Mm. It may be a strange question, but if you're able to travel to any period of time, either forwards or backwards, just for a visit, where would you like to go? Mm.
Hmm. That is a hard question. I mean, I'm a 70s baby, so maybe to go back there and see what it was like, you know. But I also really like the 20s, just because everyone was so demure and chic, and you know that's quite a fascinating period of time. But yeah, I think I'd probably go back to the 70s and relive my childhood.
See, this is my answer. I would go because I was born in early 80s. So I would love to go back as an adult and experience, mostly the music, Live Aid and Queen and
Oh
Bowie,
yeah,
all those people were in their prime, I never got to, I was too late, by the time I realised who they were, some of them were already dead or
yeah,
time and stuff. So yeah, I'd love to go back and especially Live Aid. Just what an incredible thing to.
yeah. I mean, I'm a huge Elvis fan, and obviously he died when I was 2, I think it was. Um, and to being able to experience seeing him and alive, uh, that would be amazing.
It's funny how no matter, books for me are everything, literature is everything. And yet, if I could travel back, it always comes back to music, and it's the same for so many people. Strange how.
Yeah, I mean, books can touch people, and music can really get in your soul, can't it?
Yeah,
So,
definitely. What's been the high point or the biggest pinch me moment of your career so far as an author?
biggest pinch me moment. I don't know, probably my first book launch party that I did, um, because it was, people turned up to see me. And it was like, people are here to see me, and my books. And so that was probably the moment, which was real like, wow, yeah, this is what I need to be doing. This is what I was meant to do. So probably then.
Yeah, that's a nice feeling, isn't it? When you're like,
Yeah.
yeah, this is my thing.
Yeah. I mean, as well, like with my first book, because it was about breast cancer, I had lots of women messaging me and saying that they went and got themselves checked because they read the book. That was a real moment, during those months when people were saying that, thinking that something that I'd written, a storyline that I'd written, could in fact save someone's life just by them going and getting themselves checked over. Um, so that was a pretty incredible feeling as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. What a lovely thing.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Do you read every review that you get, or have you given up on that?
When I first started, I used to read everything. It was like, get on Amazon, read the reviews. Get on Goodreads, read the reviews. Go on everywhere that sold my book and read the reviews. But I try not to now, especially after the recent 1-star nasty one. It's like, oh, I just, if people don't like it, I know that a lot of people won't like my books because it's not for them. But if it's not for them, why are they reading it? So yeah, I'll skim through every week or so, maybe every couple of weeks. But I think that's something you get over after you've been doing it a few years. It's like, no, I won't read it. You either like it or you don't. I don't need to hear unless it's feedback that's going to help me in any way. Um, so not regular anymore.
There's I went to a crime festival, and two of the biggest authors done a whole panel on their 1-star reviews, and it was very funny because they just took the piss out of not the people obviously, but just the things that they said, and we're just like, this is ridiculous, these people, because it was badly packaged, or it was a completely different book that they were reviewing and stuff. So yeah, they sort of made me realize, I think, that it's fine, it doesn't matter. You can just dismiss them.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this review said, it's clearly written by an old person trying to be young. That was quite insulting. I'm like, no, I'm not even 50 yet, thank you. But you just wonder, and it was such a long review. It's the longest review I've ever had on all of my books. And I'm like, so it's obviously really got hold of you for you to sit down and write all that. But yeah, you just have to go with it. You have to get a little bit of a thick skin, or as much as it'll hurt. But yeah, most of them are nice. So
What sort of books do you like to read if you get a chance to read? Oh,
I like something with romance, something with, you know, real life that would happen, that could happen. Um, Emotional books. I like books that will, you know, touch your heart. Um, I recently read Daisy Darker, which is more of a thriller one, which I didn't. It's not what I really read, but I really enjoyed it. Um, it was really very cleverly done. But yeah, I like to read sort of emotional, heartfelt ones that are real life, that you may find yourself being involved, you know, in some time.
yeah. So you've written this book that you weren't expecting to write. So are you still going to be writing another one in October? And what else is coming up for you? Oh,
Well, I have, yeah, before this one, I did start another one. So that's 30,000 words done. So once I've got this one out, I'll probably then go back to that one and continue that and see where it goes, and hopefully just carry on writing and writing and writing.
oh, it sounds like you've got plenty to keep going, so you're all right.
One of my children's books, it's really taken off in America. It's my most popular children's book, and they seem to love it over there. The print copies, I think it's like 157 print copies or something. So I want to do that character in, like, as a Christmas book as well, because I think obviously they really like that little character. So yeah, and as I said before, they're just really nice, away from the serious stuff. So
Well, I can't think of any more questions for you unless you think there's anything really obvious that I haven't asked you that you want to tell us.
I don't think so. I think you've yeah, it's been great.
Brilliant. Do you just want to remind everyone about what your books are and where they can find them and where they can find you?
Okay, so my books are, they're all on Amazon, and you can get them in Barnes and Noble. You can order them in Waterstones, lots of bookshops. They're women's fiction, emotional, heartfelt, sometimes heartbreaking, but heartwarming stories with strong female characters. You can look on my website, tarosewood.com, and all the socials. I'm on all the socials.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Donna. I hope you feel better soon.